We have all been there. Sometimes you remember a show you used to watch when you were a child. You remember a scene, a character, a phrase, a furry. And you want to know more about this show. So you go to the internet. You read all the Wikipedia articles of all the TV shows ever broadcasted by Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or Fox Kids and maybe even Discovery Kids. And if you're lucky, you'll find it. But when you find it, do you watch it or do you let it live in your memory? Because in your memory, it will always be good and give you nostalgia of the good old times when you didn't know all the messed up stuff that turns on some people. Even more, if you watch it, you run the risk of the show not being as good as you remember it. And instead, it could have been a pile of hot, wet garbage leaking from a hole in the bag into your bare feet while you run towards the door to leave it outside so you never have to deal with it again. Puccini's yard! The show I remembered is called Roswell Conspiracies, Aliens, Myths and Legends. So, is it any good or does it leak on my feet? Let's find out. First, let's start with the premise of the show. It is very similar to Men in Black. There are aliens on Earth, they are hidden, and there's a secret organization, in this case called the Alliance, that works to defend Earth against hostile aliens, make alliances with non-hostile aliens, and cover up the existence of both. What these people added to the premise is that the aliens have always been on Earth, and they are the source of myths and legends, like werewolves, fairies, the Yeti, the Sasquatch, vampires, zombies, and all sorts of magical beings. Get it? The conspiracy is that the aliens are the sources of the myths and legends. Get it? In this kind of hidden world premise, you need to have an explanation of why all these things remain a secret. The solution for Men in Black was the Neuralizer. This is a piece of alien technology which you can use to make anyone forget anything and implant new memories in them. It is clever, it is used appropriately in the story, and it creates many funny moments. In Roswell, however, they had a different approach. This fucking guy! Seriously, anytime something happens, this guy will show up and make a shitty explanation about it, sometimes even bribing people to keep quiet. Just look at the shit explanation he gives in the first episode to a man who just saw his neighbor turn into a monster.
Think we should tell him?
He looks like a trustworthy citizen to me.
Oh, yeah. I can keep a secret, I swear.
Okay, here's the deal. It's a classified genetic experiment. The government's trying to change convicted felons into endangered species to restock the environment. Hey, better than capital punishment, right?
This guy is awesome! I don't know if I got it when I was a child, but now this is one of those things that is so dumb that I love it. And he does this throughout the whole show. It's very funny. Also, this is a lycanthrope, and they are the origin of werewolves because of how they look and that they have the ability to shapeshift into humans, which makes them the go-to enemy of the show. Anyway, this guy is not the protagonist. That's actually this guy, Nick, who has the ability to see when someone is actually an alien for some reason, and whose father was abducted by aliens when he was a little child, and I couldn't care less. His partner, both in the field and in the bedroom, I assume, is Schlein, who looks like a woman but is actually an alien, which makes Nick, strictly speaking, a zoophile. Together, they are sent in missions all over the world, and they are often paired with other agents, like Fitz, Nema, Trueblood, yes, like the TV show about horny vampires, Tyjet, who is a Yeti, get it? Link, and many other recurring characters. This is pretty much a Monster of the Week kind of show, which is neither good nor bad, but in this case, it is actually very good for several reasons. For one, you can see that the writers wanted to find ways to make the show dynamic and not formulaic, like many other children's shows. It would have been very easy for each episode to begin with a mysterious monster attacking people, or the Alliance attacking yet another alien hideout, but no. For example, in one episode, they want to convince a friendly alien to join the Alliance. In another, they want to cover up the existence of an alien satellite orbiting Earth. Several episodes are rescue missions, and in one, Nema wants to introduce Fitz to her parents.
Mother, father, let me introduce my co-worker, Simon Fitzpatrick.
Right, he's your co-worker. Is that how your children call them now? The result is that every episode feels unique. And while the preferred core of the show are the two couples of Nick and Schlein and Fitz and Nema, they often find reasons to team up different characters, like Nick and Fitz, Schlein and Fitz, throw in True Blood and Tyjet for good measure, and they even find reasons to split the characters and leave them alone. Which is great because the characters are so developed that each group and each character by itself has a very entertaining dynamic. Now, it would be one thing if this was a show about secret alien hunters with likable personalities, but where this show knocks it out of the park is in the villains. Because despite being a Monster of the Week show, the aliens are not mere monsters, but characters, with their own motivations and their own morals beyond just humans are weak or humans are tasty. Take the Bodun, for example. They are a race of space logs that take control of the bodies from other intelligent species. They have been living in Haiti for hundreds of years, possessing dead bodies, which fits perfectly because in the real world the idea of zombies comes from Haiti. While they are not possessing bodies, the slugs are in these weird eggs, and Shamedi, the leader of the Bodun, makes it very clear that each one is an individual.
This orb held Catan. He was a great Vodan warrior.
And all he wants is to give his people living bodies, instead of rotting cadavers, which is perfectly understandable.
Now he's but another casualty, another result of my failure to place our kind within living human vessels.
The problem is that to do that, they need to possess living people, destroying their minds and taking over their empty bodies.
It's not your mind we want, human male. It's your body.
The show doesn't frame the Bodun as being evil for evil's sake. I mean, they have a very good reason to do what they are doing. After all, they didn't choose to be parasites. No one chooses their own biology. They were born this way. Although, but how are those logs made? Because if they parasite other alien species, then how do they reproduce? Do they use the reproductive systems of the species they are inhabiting? Oh my god. The point is that they didn't choose their own biology. So instead of this being a fight of good against evil, this is simply a fight of two ways of living that can't coexist with each other. Just look at how Shamedi reacts when one of the slugs is killed before possessing a body.
No! Another life gone!
Another life lost. Damn. I mean, I'm kind of feeling it for the slugs. I think this is what I like the most about the show. That it is morally grey all the fucking time. For example, in one episode, Nick and Schlein discover a secret alien weapons arsenal. So they order an airstrike to destroy it. But after that, they discover that the weapons arsenal was also an alien hospital. They try to call off the airstrike, but it is too late. And an alien mother dies giving birth, but not before telling them that the baby is called Athos.
His name shall be Athos, son of Rock.
So what Nick and Schlein decide to do is to take care of the baby, and they raise him in secret, which they can conveniently do because remember, the lycanthropes can shapeshift.
Hey, come here.
Years later, they find out that the father of Athos is still alive, and that he thinks that his son and wife both died in the airstrike, and he's plotting a revenge against the Alliance.
And extract my vengeance.
A conflict which is only resolved when Nick manages to reunite Athos and his father, which results in Athos living with the other lycanthropes. And afterwards, Athos becomes a recurring character that is working to find ways for the lycanthropes and the humans to live in peace. And like that, there are many other examples in this show. For example, when they have to jail an alien that helped them simply because he's an alien and those are the rules. Or when Suak commits suicide on screen because he just couldn't forgive Tajet. Or when Fitz decides to fake his death to his ex-girlfriend in order to protect her from vampires. Or when Ling gets a bottom parasite called Babul, and instead of the parasite taking over his body, they become friends, they learn to work together.
We are both here.
And they share a single body, which must get weird sometimes. And I could go on, naming more examples. This show is morally grey and is great at that. After a couple of episodes, you have to wonder why the fuck does the Alliance keeps up with such lousy agents that do things as keeping secret alien babies? Or why the agents keep working for such a flawed organization that kidnaps their secret alien babies? But I think that's the point. For a time where most TV shows were meant to function as toy commercials, Roswell was a show that tried to have depth, to have a message beyond the standard good versus evil, beyond anything Barney and friends would sing you about.
Nick, I'm sorry.
Never be sorry for telling the truth, no matter who wants to control it.
Messages about flawed rules that you have to follow, about immigration, about other cultures, about taking hard decisions for the greater good. Because they trusted children to be smarter than what most people give them credit for. I think the best example of this message is James, the head of the Alliance. Because half of the time he seems like a bad guy. He doesn't hesitate to blow up a place full of aliens, even if there are innocent people there.
You'll kill Ling and Logan.
Fortunes of war, Chief. Besides, they still have 26 seconds.
And the other half of the time, he's willing to blow himself up, along with everyone else around, because the place was full of aliens.
Self-destruct in 5 minutes.
You'll die for that!
We'll all die for that.
So you realize that he's not bad, he's just doing what he thinks is necessary for the greater good. But of course, the show has to ruin that by having James be actually a villain all along. Yeah, spoilers alert, by the way. So yeah, this show is far from perfect.
What are you? That synthroid is armed and dangerous. A renegade robot finally meets his maker. Dr. Selly, he's after the dock. Fire! Don't miss the season premiere.
Danger. Evacuate all sectors.
Freeze! The Zeta Project. All new this Saturday at 9:30, 8:30 Central and Pacific on Kids WB.
So yeah, this show is far from perfect. But it is also far from being bad. Which takes me to another great aspect of this show, the characters. Now, it would be very easy to say that they all fit into stereotypes, like the chaotic good rogue, or the neutral good tomboy, or the lawful good office girl, the funny guy, and of course, the furry. But no, those traits are used instead as templates from which to build believable characters. For example, Fitz is the funny guy, and Nema has a stick up her ass. But when they are together, Nema is funny and makes jokes.
I was just a kid, heading out to make my mark.
Or possibly leave a stain.
And when the chips are down, Fitz can get really serious, especially if Nema is in danger. And on a side note, I seriously love the dynamic these two have. I mean, they are so sweet together, they have so much good chemistry. I mean, how much I wish we had fandoms back then.
I can't do Rick!
On a second thought, Yeah, it's good that we didn't have fandoms back then. Also, Nema is Egyptian, and she talks with an accent. So this is how a TV show portrayed an Egyptian woman in the 90s. Brave, capable, standing her ground in front of two monsters, promising her man that she will come back safe from combat. And the cherry on top is that she's in a relationship with a white guy called Fitzpatrick. And in general, the show is riddled with characters who are Mexican, Russian, Chinese, Native American. I mean, people complain about forced inclusivity nowadays, but I think we were simply not paying attention. There are no Jews though. Ghislaine is from an alien race called the Banshee, and in her culture, the male and female roles are reversed.
Hold on, wait a minute, raising children is man's work.
Which is a very interesting idea that doesn't get developed enough in the show, and makes me very thankful that we didn't have fandoms back then. The point is that she is a tomboy.
After we stake their scaly bodies to a wall, we'll ask them.
She's tough and brave, but she can also have visions of the future, and sometimes she sees bad things happening to the people she loves, which makes her worry and show her sentimental side. Sometimes.
Huh?
Nick, just thought you should know you've got 6 seconds to live.
You can give me a bit more warning next time.
2 seconds.
Nick, the protagonist, is the blunder of the bunch. I mean, he's a rogue, a leader, and a bounty hunter. I mean, what else do you need to know, right? But sometimes, like when they find the lycanthrope baby, Nick starts fantasizing that he's like his dad, taking care of him when he was little. Which is something odd to show about a male lead who is a bounty hunter. I mean, can you imagine Han Solo fantasizing about being a dad? But this show does all of this and more, and does it really well. The characters feel somewhat real and fleshed out. You don't feel they are breaking character when they show another side of them, it's just another side of them. Now, I know this is not Westworld by any means. I mean, these are still cartoon characters that don't change much. But they have very good writing, even for today's standards. Now, the show does have a lot of problems. Many episodes have a very rushed pacing. The show wants to say so much and has too little time. For this reason, the resolution of many conflicts sometimes is cheap and uninteresting. Or the opposite happens. The show wants to be an action show and fills the screen with minutes of action that don't go anywhere. Also, you don't see many of their actions having consequences, no matter how much they disobey the Alliance, nor how much the Alliance screwed up, everyone just moves on with no hard feelings.
It won't happen again.
It had better not. Dismissed.
Which, I mean, I guess in the 90s, shows had to reset the status quo each episode, because it was the only way not to confuse new viewers. And today, streaming has freed us from that. But regardless of how justified it was, it cheapens the show. And talking about cheap, the animation is competent. I mean, it gets the job done, but it's not particularly good. Except when it's about furries. Also, Chinese furries. This show was hella inclusive. Finally, the dialogue is forgettable, but they do manage to be surprisingly funny at times.
Mr. Fitzpatrick, thank you for taking time out from your doubtless busy schedule in Egypt to come say hello.
Daddy?
Actually, I just remembered a foot I forgot to stick in my mouth in another part of the city.
But overall, the voice acting is not much better than the animation. All things considered, I would say that this was a very good show. And its strength was mostly in its writing. The plots had depth and complexity, as did the characters, good and bad. And the conflicts let them show that complexity and depth. Now, you're probably wondering why didn't this show become more popular? And my guess is that it never found its audience. For example, as much as I love Nema introducing Fitz to her parents, there's no way I could understand why that was such a big deal when I first saw that in 1999. And marketing can either make or break a show. Just look at Firefly or Glee. It is a shame that this show didn't become more successful, because each episode took $500,000 to produce. Jeez, those are like $20 million, and they only made one Half-Life reference?
It's going into storage. The Black Mesa.
No wonder they never made that money back. Netflix, if you are looking for intellectual properties to reboot, here you have a very good one. And whomever owns it is probably desperate for cash. And I mean, we all saw what you did with Voltron. This could be way better. In the meantime, if you want to watch it, I'm sad to say that it's nearly impossible to find releases of this show. And even if you do, it would only be some 5 or 10 episodes out of 40 ever made. Now, you could find it complete online for free, but that would be illegal. Yep, pretty legal. And we both know you would never do something illegal. Now, if you were wondering about the furry scene, it makes perfect sense in context. Ling went to this club because he was intrigued by the advertising.
Want to experience a new vision? Make yourself more than human.
Which was actually a trap set by the Vodun. In the club, he sees this panther woman, who is actually a Vodun controlling an alien body. He sees her, compliments her on her costume.
Nice costume.
And then just dances with her. Because he thinks she's wearing a panther costume. Or maybe deep down he knows that she isn't. That's all the context. Ling was canonically a furry. And also known as Glitter, is the most amazing god you have probably never heard of. And if you have heard of it, then it is probably the reason that you or someone you love is alive right now. Because they realize the quality rate and certain ingredients go from almost 0 vaccines, an accomplishment any other cancer therapy has.